My name is Jack Gregory Wilson. I was born here in Indianapolis, Indiana on May the 2nd, 1928. That makes me 85 years old today. I went to Benjamin Harrison School number 2, downtown here, and in grammar school, and I went to Manual High School. I didn't complete, I completed my high school, but I did not go to college. I worked at Linder's Ice Cream Company when I went in service in 1950. I had my training at Camp Breckenridge, 101st Airborne, and I became company clerk at that time. After my training here, I was sent to Japan for shipment over to Korea. And that was in May, the exact birthday was May the 2nd of 1951. I left San Francisco for Korea. And we landed in Korea at the time the very rough conflict going on there. Then I was assigned to a combat engineer combat headquarters as personnel administrative supervisor, the MOS of personnel administrative supervisor, taking care of personnel records for this combat engineer headquarters. I spent till August the 15th of 51. I was out on an inspection tour with the commander of the company, getting records of who was present at the engineer outfit. At that time, the engineers were working on the water reservoir, trying to rebuild the reservoir. At that time, they were setting explosives off in the walls of the building of this reservoir to rebuild the walls. Unbeknown to us, they set the walls and timers, and at the time they set the timers, we were attacked by a sniper. So the commander and I went underground reservoir to get out of the way of the troops and let them take care of the sniper, because we didn't have a rifle or anything to just have a sidearm to carry with us. Unbeknown to me, I was leaning against the wall that they had set timers on, and the explosive went off, and it knocked me into a pile of rubble or sand or something. I don't remember what it was. I woke up in a MASH unit. I was in a MASH unit for 2 weeks with IVs, and found out that I had lost several teeth. My teeth were knocked loose, and I lost the hearing in my right ear. And after 2 weeks at the MASH unit, they sent me to the 382nd Army Hospital in Nara, Japan, for further treatment. And I was there for 5.5 months. After 5.5 months, I was sent to Wisconsin at Camp McCoy for further treatment. At the time I left the service, I was still a PFC. I was up for promotion, but at the time of my, quote, accident, that's what they classified it as. They classified it as an accident because it was our troops that had set the explosives. I was not in combat. However, they did classify me as unfit for combat service. Due to the injuries, I was not able to perform any more duties because of my hearing, and but physically I was okay. They saved my teeth, which I was happy for, but except for the ones that were actually knocked out. At the time, it was 5 of them knocked out completely during the, quote, explosions.
Yeah.
Most of these are from the Republic of Korea. I do have one there with a Bronze Star. That was awarded to my outfit. I have the paperwork on this one that's Bronze Star. And this is for, it says Korea Service, for the Korea Service. And that was awarded to me. But the rest of these are all from the Republic of Korea honoring us being there. And one of them I'm very proud of is the one with the beautiful emblem on there, and I got a certificate from them that's absolutely gorgeous, acknowledging our service in Korea. And I would like to show you that certificate in that envelope. And I think it's a beautiful, beautiful certificate, and I'm very proud of it. This is the one that they sent to me. And it's for their 50th anniversary of the service in Korea.
You can't really read it.
Also, no, it's beautiful. It tells what they do. It's in English and also in Korean language. I was able to leave the hospital on passes because all I needed to do was take medication. So I was being treated for just the hearing injuries at that time. The teeth was taken care of, everything else was taken care of. And I went into La Crosse to spend a few days in La Crosse, out of the hospital. I went in to this one bar that's a very nice bar in La Crosse, one of the nicest ones there. And I saw this gentleman sitting at the bar, and I thought he was a very nice looking man. But I had no inklings about who he was or anything. And I was with one of the male nurses at the hospital that was in the service. I was with him at the time we were there. Well, in that bar, they closed. When they closed, everybody goes to this little restaurant for coffee after the place closes. So we go there, and here was Marva sitting at the counter having coffee. This was in 1952. 1952. Early 52. I was in the hospital there from January of 52 to September 52. That's when I was discharged in September. So we see Martin sitting at that counter. You know, we just had a few minutes left to get to our bus back to camp. So we left, and Martin left, and he was going across the street in one direction, and we were going the other way. So I spoke up, and I said, "Good night now." And Martin turned around and said, "Good night" to me. Well, we went on back. The following weekend happened to be Easter weekend. And my friend, he had to work at the hospital. So I went in town by myself on Friday. And I went to this bar, and Marvin was sitting there. He always goes there every Friday night. So I sat next to him, and we got to talking. We spent the entire night talking together at the bar until they closed. He asked me if I was going to be in town over the whole weekend. And I said, "Well, I have a pass, I can stay in all weekend." He said, "Where do you plan on staying?" And I said, "Well, I haven't planned on anything yet." He said, "Well, how would you like to come to my family farm for Easter Sunday?" And I said, "Well, that would be nice." But I said, "This is all I wore tonight, you know, I wore fatigues. I didn't have any nice clothes to wear." He said, "That's all right." And he said, "Where do you plan on staying?" And I said, "Well, I haven't made any plans to stay in town." He said, "Well, I'll get you a hotel room." He got a hotel room, and he went up in the room with me, and he never left. So he said that he had to go back to his apartment, which he shared with his sister, on Saturday. And he said, we can go there. So we went there, and I met his sister. She was a lovely lady. And that evening, we went out to dinner. We went to a place where they had dancing, and I danced with his sister, and we had a good time. Sunday morning, we got up and got ready, went out to the farm, and his family greeted me like they've known me for years. His brother, sister, sister-in-laws, and his mother and dad just was wonderful to me. And so we had our Easter Sunday. From that time on, every weekend, he came to the camp, picked me up, we went in town, and I spent the whole weekend with him. For every weekend until I was discharged from the service in September. I had to come back to Indianapolis. They sent me back to Indianapolis. He would come down from La Crosse, Wisconsin on Friday night, got here about midnight on Friday night, and spent the entire weekend with me, and left about, late Sunday night to get back in time just to go to work. He did this from September till December. And I had already told my family, my dad, my mother, actually he was my stepfather, but he's my dad. But I had told them when I was 14 years old that I was gay. And my dad, being a policeman with IU Medical Center, he says, I knew that, but I was just waiting for you to tell us. And he says, I knew, but he says, I was just waiting for you to tell us when you got ready to tell us. And from then on, my life has been wonderful. I had no pressure. All my friends, they accepted my friends, they loved my friends loved them. And when they met Marvin came down to Indianapolis every weekend. Well, in fact, what he did, he quit his job in La Crosse, Wisconsin. He had a very good job at a train company. And he moved to Chicago so he could be closer to me. And every weekend, he would drive down from Chicago to Indianapolis. And that went on until December, late December. And my dad finally told me, he says, Jack, I'm not throwing you out. But he said, the best thing for you to do is to move to Chicago with Marvin. He loves you, and you love him. So I packed up New Year's Eve, and I moved to Chicago, and we've been together ever since. We've been together for 58 years, and in April of 2012 would have been our 60th year. But God wanted to take him in 2009. He was 92 years old when he passed away. But he had a wonderful, wonderful military service. He was in World War II. He had more action than I had. He was with the service in Attu, Alaska, when the Japanese invaded Alaska. And then he went to Okinawa, and he was with the 10th Army headquarters with General Joseph Stilwell when the Japanese surrendered to the General Stilwell. And I have all the paperwork on his surrender, that celebration, and I'm planning on giving them to the World War II Memorial. Because that papers, I think other people should see what service some military men had done. And when I was in service, I knew several men that were gay, but we had to keep it quiet. We never spoke of it, never talked in public because we were afraid of somebody else hearing it. And so it was keeping your emotions and your feelings to yourself. And you could only talk to other men that you knew that were gay. And it was, that I don't think was right, but we had to do it. It was our duty to do it. I'm very proud of my service in the service. Martin is very proud of his service in the service. He was in for 5 years, World War II, and we both, when we retired, we worked together in the same office. I was accounts receivables, he was accounts payables for the same company. We were treated like a couple at the company. It was a big company. And we were invited as a couple to weddings, our business, whatever they was. They had a huge party for us at our 25th anniversary. And when we retired, they had a big party for us when we retired. I retired in 1984. He retired early in February of '84, and he was 66 years old. And then I retired, which I didn't want to, but he insisted, and I was only 56. And he said, "We're going to retire now." And I said, "No, that's what you want, that's what we do." So we retired and we moved to Florida, and we lived in Florida for 28 years. And we were in Chicago for 30 years, 28 years down in Florida. And he decided that maybe we should live closer to family. Unbeknown to me, he must have been ill, that he didn't tell me about, he wouldn't tell me about it. So we came to Indianapolis because that's where most of my family was still living. And we found an apartment here, a 3-bedroom apartment. We went back to Florida, sold our home there, and moved to Chicago, moved back to Indianapolis. The day that we moved back to Indianapolis, the movers were bringing our furniture in, he fell and broke his hip. I had to take him to the hospital. They took him to the hospital. He never came out. And he passed away in 2009. So I've been alone since 2009. And it's been very difficult after that long. And there are people who think that gay people can't be together that long. We were together for 24 hours a day, and people were questioning, how can we be together that long? And Marvin made the remark that, well, if you love someone, you want to be with them all the time. And he loved me. So but it was hard. But, we got along very well. And at that time we couldn't marry, we knew that. But we had to have everything in writing with both names on it. Everything we bought. The house, the car, everything. We had to have both names on it. And we had to make out papers, legal papers, that I made decisions for him and he made decisions for me. When we were ill, when he was ill, and I was ill. We couldn't get married. But we wanted something that would say that we were a couple. So he had rings made for us. We had matching rings. And this is our wedding band, and this is our matching rings. There we go. And I'll always wear that. See, that's our wedding ring. Well, I think that everyone should have equal rights, of all types of equal rights, marriage or whatever. If someone is a couple, and quote, gay people are couples. They can be together for years. And I have a lot of friends. I had one couple that were together for 66 years before one of them passed away. These were females. It should be the same for males or females. Man and woman, 2 men, 2 women. Now when we bought our first house, Being two men, we could not get a mortgage. However, our friends, two females, were able to get a mortgage immediately. We had to shop around and find somebody that would give us a mortgage outside of a regular mortgage company. Now this is discriminating. And I don't think anyone, regardless of who they are, should be discriminated against. There were times when, I remember when a black and white could not marry. Now, it's open. They can marry. Why can't two men marry? Two women can dance together. Two men can't dance together. I think that's discriminating. I don't think anyone should be discriminated against. And no one should have a judgment against us, against anyone. Only God can judge the person. And I cannot judge anyone for who they are, what the kind of nationality they are, or anything. It's not my place to judge anybody, and I don't think anyone should judge anyone else. Whatever they have, a relation, a disability, or anything, I cannot judge them. I wish everybody could be as happy as I was. And I think everyone should have that chance in life. Because we're only here for a short time. And make whatever happiness you can.
Other things are wrong.
Yeah, it's making me cry. I want to, I wish everybody could be as happy as I was. And I think everyone should have that chance in life